Good evening, everyone. So now we see people joining. So as we did last time, we'll wait for a few minutes until all registered participants are in the room. So far we have got over 20 people, and people are joining. So we'll wait for a few minutes. So typically we'll wait like 3 minutes before we kick off. Okay, so we are approaching 30 visitors. So just another couple of minutes and we'll start. Right, guys, I think we can start. So good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending where you all are located. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. So it's our second gig when we are going to go through the key topics that were selected based on the feedback that you shared with us. So it's not surprise that KYC process, CLM&KYC process is one of the critical, and in certain cases is a paramount thing to be able to provide regulatory compliance, and the KYC procedures are becoming tough and tougher, all over the world. Therefore, the customers have to keep the compliance, have to track any changes, implement those changes, and today we decided to disclose the topic of best practices in CLM KYC using Pega CLM&KYC framework. So we hope that it will be a very interesting experience for you, and we'll share the our knowledge and our past experience with you, and hope you will find it useful for your day-to-day activities, for your business, and for your projects. So my name is Sergey Rabotai. I was with you last time. I'm responsible for business development and customer operations at Pega Services. As usual, we are going to have 3 keynotes today. So the first speaker is Igor Rukhtin. Igor is head of intelligent automation Pega Services, and he will talk about CLM and KYC challenges and solutions. What are those challenges, and what sort of challenges the companies are facing globally, and what industry has to offer. And what are the ways, how the onboarding time of this process can be improved. The second speaker will be Sergey Kiselov, who is lead Pega architect at Pega Services. So he'll talk about our past experience of successful CLM KYC implementation. So the project was delivered to one of the largest European banks. And the third speaker for today is Yaroslav Dovin. He's a lead Pega architect as well. And he will speak about such an interesting thing as data migration in CLM and KYC. Well, when you need or want to implement a new system, and especially if the system is business critical, there's always a question how to transfer the sensitive data without affecting existing operations. And he will also base his narration on the past case study, how make sure that the data transfer is smooth, and you have zero risk with that. And at the end of all keynotes, we'll have our regular Q&A session. You can see question and answers button in the bottom of your Zoom window. So please post your questions there. The only thing I would like to ask you is just please mention the name of the speaker who the question is addressed to. I believe that's all. We can start. So Igor, I'm passing the word to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey. Let me share my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen now. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Igor. I'll be presenting the first keynote today. So first, a brief introduction of myself. I'm a head of intelligent automation at Pega Services. I've been helping clients in EMEA region to achieve their business goals by adopting the right tools for intelligent automation. My experience in this domain is 8 years. So let's briefly go over the content of this keynote. First, we'll look into the current challenges in the CLM and KYC domain. Then we will see what the industry leaders think the right answers to these challenges should look like. And then I'll share our own experience of helping clients with these challenges. And in the end, there will also be an interesting comparison. So please stay tuned till the end. Before we continue, let me freshen up your memories on the terminology. So CLM stands for Customer Lifecycle Management, and KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So with that out of the way, let's proceed to the current challenges in the CLM and KYC domain. Now, as I'm sure you're all very familiar, there are global market pressures in the industry. So the inflation is sky high, there are labor shortages, there are supply chain issues, geopolitical issues that lead to high prices on commodities. higher pressure from the regulators, recent role of environmental and social governance, and new market players are getting ready to disrupt the industry. So in short, things are not great in the industry, while at the same time, complex forces are driving the disruption. Unfortunately, your business has to optimize and become more efficient while becoming more responsive to customer needs. So I have a question for you, colleagues. Do you also feel this way? Do you feel this pressure and forces? Please let us know in the Q&A section. You could also post there not only questions, but your comments. So if it is relatable to you, please let me know. Now, let's look into the challenges with more focus on the CLM and KYC area. Customer expectations are constantly rising. They expect banking to be done fast and in one try. They expect it across different channels, and they have zero tolerance towards slow, unresponsive, broken journeys and tools. Then there is constant pressure to improve efficiency and consistency. Legacy silo systems are no longer the option. They are not fit for the digital age. Same goes for slow manual tasks. You can't scale properly if you constantly need to add new people to the processes. Next, your risk model should be flexible and be able to adapt quickly to changing regulations. You need the better reporting tools and analytics tools to assess risk profiles. And finally, new regulatory requirements will continue to appear, and the pressure from the regulators will likely increase. So you must be able to adapt to this changing environment and act swiftly to avoid regulatory risk and fines. And again, continuing this conversation, if you are feeling related to any of these problems, let me know in the Q&A section. Do you feel this as well? Let us know, please. So on top of that, let's see what the leading consultancy and research company have to say based on the feedback from leaders in the financial industry. Ernst & Young says that almost 80% of financial institutions report that their compliance costs have been significantly impacted, especially due to rapid changes in reporting requirements and special ad hoc requirements by the regulators. At the same time, small institutions have reported that almost half of their total compliance budgets are spent only on complying with supervisory reporting by the European Banking Authority. And it doesn't seem like things will get easier in the future. Thomson Reuters says that 3/4 of respondents expect an increase in regulatory activity next year. And let's see what happens to the unlucky few who got caught in the action by the regulators. Here are some examples of fines over the years. As you can see, hundreds of millions of dollars of potential fines. And last year in EMEA region alone, there were more than $1 billion of fines. So as you can see, the picture doesn't look so good. Now, if there's a problem, sure, there must be a solution. So let's see what it could be and what the industry leaders have to say about it. First, let's see what Chartis has to say. For those unfamiliar, Chartis Research is a leading provider of research and analysis on the global market of risk technology. Chartis has a dedicated team of analysts and advisors that have been developing risk management systems for Fortune 500 companies and leading consulting houses. So Chartis makes dozens of insightful reports every year with areas of expertise, including things like risk management and compliance, operational risk and governance, regulatory requirements, asset and liability management, energy and commodity trading risk, etc. So Chartis says that there are 5 key aspects to the CLM and KYC solution that this solution must comply with. So first, this solution has to have sophisticated functionality, such as advanced risk models, detailed and flexible workflows, and also content specific to the domain. Next, the solution should cover a large spectrum of requirements. This should also include distinctions for different business lines, user types, assets, and risk classes. Then, of course, no solution is possible without capabilities in advanced risk analytics. It primarily implies the ability to analyze the large amounts of data in a timely manner, but also means having advanced capabilities like, for example, predictive modeling. Next chart says that your solution should also have rich capabilities in reporting and presentation. So this means general quality and flexibility of reporting tools, as well as ad hoc reports and the list of reports available out of the box. And lastly, of course, the requirements for data management and technology infrastructure. So this includes things like modern architecture and data management technologies, ease of data storage and integration, and also general stability, performance, and security of the solution. So let's say you want a solution that has all of those features. Well, no problem. Every year, Chartis conducts a research into market leaders in CLM and KYC solutions. And you may find several category leaders of this chart in the upper right corner. But every year, there's also one leader among them, and Chartis believes that this leader is Pega. So in its report, Chartis evaluated 32 most significant KYC solutions and providers across several criteria. And Pega has received the highest possible score in 3 categories. So it's KYC onboarding, KYC risk scoring, and reporting and dashboarding. And Chartis says that the leader combines depth of functionality, technology, and content, and has significant share of the market. The leader benefits from strong brand awareness, global reach, and strong alliances with leading consulting firms and system integrators, of course. Now, I think I should share our own experience in implementing such solutions for one of our clients. So the client is one of the big banks in Europe. The client has major difficulties in managing CLM and KYC processes. The processes were in their need of transformation. So the onboarding time was slow, onboarding process was inefficient. It required a lot of manual paperwork. It relied on old, I should say, almost obsolete systems, which were hard to implement new features in. The customer wanted to streamline this process and bring it into the digital age. The customer wanted an all-in-one solution, which could be up and running very quickly. So that's what we did. We implemented this solution, configured it to customers' requirements, implemented several integration points with other systems, both internal and external. Our second speaker, Sergey, will share more details about this project in the following keynote. But let me first share the results with you. So the results: full compliance with the European Union legislation, full compliance with several other international requirements like CRS, FATCA, DFA, and others, elimination of manual tasks, and finally, the onboarding process was standardized and finally automated. So it allowed to accelerate the onboarding times, and in some cases, the client onboarding could now happen fully automatically, and this automatic process would take only 2 minutes. That's down from 1 to 2 days for similar cases before this system was implemented. So I think that's a great result. And on top of that, the client got first results in just 3 months. That's how long it took us to implement the MVP for this project. And as I promised, a small comparison in the end. So the average cost to implement the CLM&KYC solution is about $1 million. And but the fines by the regulators could be much higher, reaching tens and hundreds of millions, as we saw on the previous slide. Additionally, by implementing this solution, you will get savings on compliance costs, future-proofing your business processes for new regulations, and overall improving customer experience. So why risk with high fines when you could just implement a simple solution? I'm actually interested in what you think about this one. Does it make sense? What about your particular case? Please let me know in the Q&A section. I'll be sure to follow you. Well, I say that's it. Thank you for your time and interest today. I hope to chat with some of you in the following days to see how we can help you with your challenges. Feel free to contact us via our website or LinkedIn. And by the way, if anyone is coming to Istanbul this week, I'm going to attend Istanbul FinTech Week, so I'll be happy to meet you there as well. I think that's all from my side. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Igor. Well, we have already started to receive first questions. The only thing I just want to remind you that please kindly, include the name of the speaker. So when we have the Q&A session, we know who the questions are addressed to. So now it's time to move to the second keynote of today's session. And Sergey Kiselov will speak or will give us an in-depth analysis of one of CLM/KYC implementation for one of the biggest European banks. So it was a really successful experience, and Sergey will speak more about it. So Sergey, the floor is yours, please. Everyone, welcome Sergey.
Thanks, Sergey. So let me share my screen. I hope that everyone can see it now. And let's start. Hello, everyone. My name is Sergey Kiselov, and today I'm going to tell you about the most interesting features of Pega CLM&KYC framework. And I want to share some experience about implementing it at one of our projects. So first of all, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Sergey Kiselov. I have more than a dozen projects under my belt, and I have wide experience working with several Pega frameworks. I have been a Pega LSA for several years, and one of my last projects was about the implementing of Pega CLM&KYC in a financial institution. Our Pega services team adapted the capabilities of out-of-the-box solution to the requirements of the customer just in 6 months, from starting to production. And our solution passed all necessary tests, starting from user acceptance testing, ending with penetration test, and the application was successfully released into production, as I said, in 6 months. Now let's talk about what the CLM&KYC framework is and how it can be useful in a financial institution. The framework provided by Pega contains a set of pre-configured processes for automating the most important journeys, such as customer onboarding, offboarding, customer maintenance, periodic reviews, and other. And each of these journeys contain customer journey subtypes. Let's say when we're talking about onboarding, we can choose between onboarding a new parent entity and transferring the related party into the customer. The CLM case type consists of 4 main stages and 1 alternate stage. First 2 stages are designed to get the basic information about the customer, while the due diligence stage designed to accommodate any work necessary to assess the risk level of doing business with this customer. This work can vary, and the number can vary in volume, complexity, and the number of departments involved. This highly flexible solution ensures that work can flow through the organization as efficiently as possible, with all the necessary checks and audits completed at its progresses. This due diligence stage consists of 5 main categories, which are anti-money laundering, regulatory, tax, credit, and legal checks. The last stage, fulfillment stage, contains wrap-up activities and final stakeholder notification. Now I'll share some details about our experience in implementing the application at one of the previous projects in a large European bank. We received a request from the bank, and the bank decided to implement a new system, and the bank chose the Pega platform and the CLM framework to implement this task. The old system did not suit users, managers, due to a number of shortcomings. First of all, it was proprietary, so that is practically non-extensible. All customer data was not reused during its life cycle within the bank, which led just to repeated requests for information. It was not possible to build some reports on required subject, and it even was not possible to conduct onboarding for the customer. One important thing that client screenings were done offline, and it took a lot of time, and so on. So we started by piloting the Pega client lifecycle management, which resulted in the formation of requirements for product development to fully comply with clients' business processes. Our team working on the project consisted not only of IT specialists, it also includes some legal experts who acted as consultants on the requirement of EU legislation regarding the functionality of our product. So let me share the details of what we have covered during the implementation. First of all, the main important thing we did is we have integrated with the Refinitiv WorldCheck 1 database. What is it? This is the largest system for checking counterparties for belonging to PEP, which stands for politically exposed person, to check against sanction lists and as well as negative mentions in the media. In addition, we have developed a new integration module for daily screening. Why is it so important? When new hits appear, the manager knows about that from our system notification. So manager can analyze and, if necessary, increase the risk level of the customer, which will lead for extraordinary review of this customer. Then we have integrated with the Bureau Van Dijk. One of the steps in out-of-the-box process is to enriching data about the customer from the external system. While Pega offers a list of pre-built components to integrate with on this marketplace, the client decided to choose another system, and the system was Bureau Van Dijk database named Orbis. So that means that we have developed one more integration component on our own. The next big step we made was to reconfigure the risk calculation rules, depending on certain attributes of the customer according to the formulas provided by the client. We have abandoned the standard extreme category. We have introduced our mechanism for assigning other risk categories, and in addition, we have changed the mechanism for conducting periodic customer reviews. Speaking of CLM and KYC framework, I should mention the mechanism of questionnaires. It has also been adjusted based on clients' requirements, and we have changed some of the questionnaires dramatically. We have added some new questions into the questionnaires. We have removed something based on customer requirements. And in addition, we have built some questionnaires, some large questionnaires, just based on client internal policies. Moving forward, and speaking about the success of our implementation, I want to highlight just a few benefits comparing to the previous customer system. Onboarding time decreased by 5 or maybe 7 times, down to 2 or 3 days for corporate customers, and just a few minutes for some retail customers, depending on risk level. We have added a new feature to perform an event-driven review, or it could be started automatically by Pega or manually just by manager's action. Now, the system allows managers to quickly and efficiently collect the information, to reuse it for both individuals and legal entities. Pega can get this information from various sources and provides a bank employee, a bank manager with a report. And of course, we have added the possibility to conduct a customer offboarding. And as a result, managers found that the system has become easy to use without any significant freezes, and now it provides the full functionality. Just summing it up, I would like to say that the CLM and KYC framework is done well, but the as-is option is not suitable for most clients. A professional team is needed to adapt it for the client requirements, and remembering the experience that we got from our projects, I've just told you what steps can be taken to achieve the final goal, the digital transformation of your client business. That's it from my side. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. And I'm passing word back to Sergey. Sergey?
Yeah, thanks a lot. So it's maybe hard to distinguish us due to the same names. Thanks, Sergey. It was a great keynote. So let's proceed with our agenda. So the next speaker is Yaroslav, and Yaroslav will speak about data migration and CLM/KYC project. So he will, make an emphasis on, what has to be done in order to ensure that it's zero risk and it's done smoothly without ruining the valuable data for the client. Yaroslav, please take the floor. Welcome, Yaroslav.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sergey. Give me a moment. Let me just share my screen. Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen now, and let's begin. So my name is Yaroslav, and today we are going to talk about the data migrations in Pega CLM/KYC solutions. I think everyone here has faced the same challenge, how to transfer all the required data to the new system without losing a lot of time and effort. We in Pega Services know how to do it, and I'm going to share with you our experience regarding this question. But first, let me tell you a bit about myself. I've been working with Pega for more than 10 years. I'm a certified lead system architect, and I have successfully designed and implemented about 10 different Pega solutions for financial organizations all around the world. I'm really proud of what I have achieved together with my colleagues in Pega Services. And let's go further. Some time ago, I was responsible for implementing a new Pega CLM/KYC application in one financial organization in Europe. It was a pretty big bank with thousands of different companies, from small ones to really big ones as their customers. As we all know, the IT landscape of any financial organization can be a mess. Some legacy system, nobody knows how they work, some new systems under development, some tasks performed manually, old CRM, new CRM, another CRM. tons of systems and connected with each other. And each of the systems can contain different data that may be required for the customer onboarding processes. Sounds familiar, right? It even may sound scary, but it's not a problem for our team. We are not afraid of challenges, so let's proceed. Our goal was to add a new type of system, CLM&KYC system, to the bank infrastructure, to show employees how to work with this system and to migrate all the current customer onboarding processes and compliance checks to the new system. Sergey already told us about how to implement Pega CLM&KYC solution, and I'm going to focus on data migration. So, what we have? We have a huge amount of data in different systems with their own data models. All this data is inconsistent, lots of duplicates in different systems. Some of this data is stored only in local employees' environments, like on local laptops, in emails, in Excel files, and so on. And we needed to aggregate all the data from these different sources, refine it somehow, migrate it to the new system as soon as the system got implemented, and then we need to create onboarding cases for each of existing customers. Good question, how to do that? So we thought a bit and came up with two main approaches. The first idea was to keep our migration solution as simple as it could be. Configure this different system of records after the new system had got implemented, and just to launch onboarding cases and get the data on the go for each of the customers. Creating connectors, creating data pages is typical and easy work, and we can do it fast, and that can be very good for our client. But there will be some problems. First, duplicate cases would be created because we didn't have enough data on case creation to find the duplicates. Sometimes processes can stuck due to other systems problems, and this will require manual actions from employees to continue the process. Some data from one system can conflict with the data from another system, and we just don't know how to solve such conflicts. And another thing, more architectural thing, is that lots of rules will be added to the system, but we didn't really need them. This migration is a one-time procedure, and why did we have to make our application more complicated just for one-time procedure, right? So we understood that this approach was not going to work, and we need to find another way. We decided that we need to start our data migration work in parallel with CLM&KYC implementation. We would create a separate component that could be added to our application later and then removed when the migration is done. It wouldn't affect our main application data model. It would aggregate all the data from the required data sources. It will refine the data and prepare it in the right format for future case creation. Let me tell you more details regarding this component. The main idea of the component was to create a universal data flow for any data source that contains a few simple steps. The first one is to get the data from any data source. It could be REST integration, external database queries, MQ messaging, CSV upload, anything. Then we needed to map the incoming data into the component data model. As you understand, we did it with different data transforms, complicated ones, simple ones, anything. After the mapping, we performed data validation to check if all the incoming data was valid. When all the data was mapped and validated, we performed a check for duplicates. And finally, if no duplicates were found, we persisted the incoming data into component data storage. While performing several iterations on test data with different data sources on this approach, we found a couple of weaknesses. Let me tell you about them. When invalid data or potential duplicates were found, we just discarded the data. It was a bad design decision because all the customer data is very important to our client. We decided that we will add 2 manual steps to our flow that could be performed by managers to solve these data problems. To add these steps, we had to implement a simple UI for managers who can just get the tasks from work list and to check is this data valid or he can just discard it. Thanks to Pega, it was easy to implement because Pega had a lot of out-of-the-box components. So it didn't take us much time. We believed that after the manual validation, the data processed that way will be much more suitable for future case creation. Now let's go back a bit and talk about the data flow steps. At first, we needed to get the data somehow, right? We implemented several channels to get the data from required data sources. For us, it was manual CSV upload, so OP integration, REST integration, and MQ messaging. New channels could be easily added if needed. So you can add email listener, file listeners, anything what you required. Each of the channel was unique because external systems has their own data model. So for each of these channels, we had to create unique data transforms. The next step was to validate the data. We had to process all the data without any losses. So we implemented a validation check. But this validation was not blocking, it only marked the missing or invalid values for later manual check by the operator. Operators also had the ability to enrich the data or just to decide to discard the data. And the next thing I would like to focus your attention is a deduplication process. As we process the data from our sources, we store so-called refined data in data storage. At this step, when we process the data records after the validation, we queried our data storage if any records matched our duplication criteria. If the matches were found, our current data was sent for a manual duplicate check to the operators to make sure that this data could be discarded. This duplicate check, I mean searching in the temporary storage and then returning the results, affected performance a lot. So we had to tune our component data storage to fit our requirements. Our team has a lot of experience in database tunings and tuning Pega application performance. So if you had any questions, you can ask us freely. I think we can help you. Okay, finished with deduplication. Let's now talk about how we're going to create cases. Our component is designed and finished, and it was time to create cases. We created a job scheduler that gets the data from component data storage. It gets it as packages, 100 records at once. Then the job scheduler creates queue items for the queue processor to create cases. For each queue item, onboarding case is created. After the case creation, the row in component data storage is marked as processed. We do not discard the rows from the temporary storage, we just marking them as processed or not needed. And the only thing that remaining after the case creation is to enrich the data via external web services, as Sergey mentioned before in Bureau One Day and other databases. So let's do a quick overview of the overall solution and sum everything up. What we did. We created a separate custom component while the other team was implementing the CLM&KYC solution. Then we aggregated all the data through all the data sources into our component, refined it, and saved it to data storage. Then, after the CLM&KYC solution was deployed into production, we added the component to CLM&KYC application. And after that, finally, we launched the case creation procedure via the job scheduler. In production, it took about 8 hours to create all the required onboarding cases for each of the bank customers. With only 1% of the cases that requires manual actions. I think that was a success. I think that's all from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me using the panel. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and thank you all for your attention. Sergey.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yaroslav. Thanks everybody in the room. So I hope you found all keynotes interesting and useful. So now let's go through the questions that you all raised. So let's start with the questions addressed to Igor. I'll read the question and let Igor answer. So you mentioned that the MVP took 3 months to release. Which integrations or what integrations were included in the MVP? Igor?
Yes, that's a great question, actually, because this particular client had these few rules and requirements that they couldn't go live without. And this included all major integration points. So in 3 months, we had to integrate with, so the first one was Refinitiv World Check 1 for checking client in the database. Then there was Bureau Van Dijk, the database, again, local thing in this particular region. And those two were external integration. And there was one internal integration with the data warehouse of this client so that we could store some reporting data. We also started working on the integration with internal clients blacklist, but it was okay if we started going live without it, so we finished it afterwards in following weeks. So I'd say 3 integrations, 3 different systems, internal and external, and 1 more afterwards. Hope that answers your question.
Right. Thank you, Igor. So the next question is also yours. How do you deal with quickly changing regulatory requirements?
Well, I'd say your foundation is crucial, what solution you are using. So if your requirement rules are hard-coded inside the system, then you are in a lot of trouble. But if you have a modular, flexible system and your requirement rules are stored in a separate model and could be updated, well, like in Pega, then I think it's a much better picture. So in terms of updating those, you could either rely on Pega systems to do it for you. They make quarterly updates of the built-in regulatory compliance rules. So you could wait for them to do it for you and then just update this component, and these regulations would be inside your system. Or you could do it yourself by utilizing a dedicated person from your side or from the, your partner side that will use a regulatory compliance component inside Pega to, make necessary adjustments. Actually, we also have a video about this particular component. Maybe I'll share the link in the Q&A section so you could take a look. It's on the bottom of the page, or maybe I'll just share the direct link to YouTube.
Right.
What do you think, Sergey? Could we share it right here?
I don't know whether we can do it in webinar facility. I
think I'll type the answer and give a link to the answer.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do that. So we have got one more question, Igor, that is addressed to you. So what is CLM and KYC? Can you explain, please, with the example? Question comes from Azad.
Yeah, sure. So in more broadly terms, CLM is customer lifecycle management. So it's special term used to describe management of the life cycle of particular customer inside your organization. So it's from first contact to this client, then selling him some products, then servicing him, then maybe he decided not to be a client anymore, so it's offboarding him. So it's all his life cycle inside the company. So that's customer life cycle. Then KYC stands for Know Your Customer. It's a special regulatory compliance rules intended for banks to get to know their customers better, to check them for financial frauds, etc., and so on. But if we're speaking in terms of Pega CLM&KYC is a solution by Pega Systems to streamline and automate onboarding, maintaining, reviewing, and offboarding customers in financial services institutions. So I'll also share a link. I hope that will answer your question fully.
Right. So we have one more question, I believe. No, this one goes actually to Sergey, I think. What is global KYC and local KYC? Can you please differentiate them and when they will execute?
Yeah, sure. So the main difference between global KYC and local KYC is that global KYC is used to check counterparties, so the customer itself and the related parties, against worldwide regulatory requirements for AML, which stands for anti-money laundering, and CTF, countering the financial of terrorism. While local KYC is used to check all counterparties, also customer and related parties, against local. So local is for country of incorporation of customer. So these requirements are also for AML and CTF. And these cases should be triggered based on roles. So for customer, there should be always a case, global and local cases are triggered based on related party roles. So your related party could be director, ownership, or just primary contact. So depends on your related party role. I hope that I just answered the question.
All right, thanks, Sergey. So the question comes from Maxim Bleo. What about data masking and encryption?
Yeah, so we have done the large work depending the security. So first of all, we have disabled the access from the global internet. So we have established a VPN for managers. Only managers of the financial institution worked with the system. We have added the possibility to get one-time password through email or through SMS. So there was no special requirements from the bank about data masking and encryption. We just closed all possible I will say black holes by just disabling the access from the global internet. So we didn't mask the data because all the departments from the bank just worked with the same customers. They should know the data values, and we didn't encrypt the database somehow, just specially. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Thank you very much. So now we are having a set of questions addressed to Yaroslav, our third speaker. So while the data is validated, and if any issue comes up, how is that handled? Is it manual or some automated process is there?
Thank you for your question. In our solution, we created a manual step, and we asked for help from client's team to check the data. Is it valid or not? It was a simple task, just to check a couple of fields that are missing and maybe to enrich them if it's possible, or just to make a decision to discard them. In any other solutions, you can add even AI features to make these validations. So the Pega process AI can make decision for you, but you have to be careful because all of the client's data is very important. You should not trust to machine to decide can we just discard it or to enrich it.
Right. Thanks, Yaroslav. I think we have another question that is possibly addressed to Sergey. Is CLM/KYC dependent on customer service framework?
I will say yes and no. So you can use CLM and KYC separately, but if you will use it together with customer service application, you will get more functions that just customer service framework can offer to you. So our experience was about implementation for CLM and KYC framework itself, without any integrations with customer service. Yeah, thank you for the question. It was really,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Sergey. So I think that's all questions we had for today. So there were no more questions posted, as I can see it. Well, what I can say, well, thank you very much for everyone who was with us at this webinar. If you have any further questions that go beyond the topics of what has been discussed today, please feel free to reach out to any of us on LinkedIn or emails. We are happy to give you advice. We're happy to help you with the projects that you're working on. We have been working with Pega for about 12 years, and we gained a really solid experience delivering various bespoke solutions for the finance industry. So thanks once again. I suggest that we finish for today. And the last thing that I want to say before we all disappear from here is that we feel that these format and these sort of events are gaining popularity among the audience. And therefore, we are planning to run a third session in a while. So we will also explore your interests, and we'll try to choose interesting topics. So please stay connected with Pega Services or any of us from Pega Services team who is on the webinar today. And we'll try to deliver some really good content to you as well next time we see each other. Thank you very much. Have a great day, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are watching us from. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye, guys.